Yesterday we did volume cylinder. Today we're going to do volume of a cone. The good thing is it's pretty similar. So, if you remember cylinder, cone's not too far off. The bad news is it's pretty similar, which means it's easy to mix them up. So we gotta be kind of careful with each one. So if we look at these two examples here, in each of those pictures, the cylinder and the cone have the same radius and the same height. You'll notice they don't have the same volume though. Can anybody give a guess, like what's happening to the volume?
Since like the cone is going down, you don't have the
Yeah, so the cone's going down to a point. That means it's got some of that empty space. Like if we took the cylinder, we could put the cone inside and you'd have that empty space around it. So what about these numbers? What's happening to those numbers? Decreasing. What would we divide by? 3. All right, so what we have is you're going to divide basically the cylinder by 3. 120 divided by 3 gives you 40. 90 divided by 3 gives you 30. The reason for this is if you think of like the side view. So if I'm looking at a cylinder straight from the side, what shape am I going to see? A cylinder. What shape am I going to see when I look at it straight from the side? Yeah, so you're going to see a rectangle. If you look at a cylinder straight from the side, if you're looking straight at it, you won't be able to see the circle above or below, right? So when you're looking straight at it, all you're going to see is that rectangle, okay? Let's say we got a cone. If I have a cone and I look at it straight from the side, what shape would I see there? Triangle. So those are 2D shapes then, a rectangle and a triangle. How do you find the area of the rectangle? Length times width. And then the triangle? Base times height divided by 2. Still works, basically you're multiplying two numbers, dividing by 2, right? For the rectangle, it's just multiplying two numbers. So the difference is, instead of a two-dimensional shape with a cone and a cylinder, we got three-dimensional shapes, right? That ends up being kind of like why it's divided by 3, okay? So for the notes here, the volume of a cone will always be 1/3 the volume of a cylinder. Multiplying by 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3, okay? That's if they have the same height and the same radius. The formula for the volume of a cone is, we got the big base times height divided by 3. What shape's the base though? It's a circle. So area of the circle is that pi r squared or pi times radius, right? So if I write it out with that in there for my big base, I'd have my volume equals pi times radius times height, and that's the equation for a cylinder, wasn't it? But then we got to divide by 3. So a cone is exactly the same formula as a cylinder. We just got to divide by 3. And that's how we take into account that point on it. All right, everybody kind of follow? You see what I mean? Like it makes it easy to remember because all it is, the only difference is dividing by 3, but it also makes it easy to get confused on which to do. All right, everybody got it? All right, so if we look at this first one here. Our formula. We got pi times radius times height divided by 3. When we plug in our numbers, what we use for pi? 3.14. What's my radius on this first cone? 11, yeah. So remember, when we have the diameter is all the way across, we need to use radius. Radius is halfway, so if it gives you diameter, you need to divide by 2. So we got 11 as our radius, 10 is our height, and we're going to divide by 3. So I got 3.14 times 11 times 10 divided by 3. And the way your order of operations work, all that can go in at once. So we get 1,266, and I'll just put 1 decimal. So 0.5, that would round to. Okay? Since we're dividing by 3, you're going to get a lot more that have decimals to it, or repeating decimals. Cylinder, we were getting some like terminating decimals or even some whole numbers. You won't see that as often with cones. All right, so if we look at number 2, same formula, pi times radius times height divided by 3. All right, pi, what do we use for pi? 3.14. What's my radius on the second one? 5. And the height? 12. Like we said yesterday, I know it's weird calling that the height, but it's going from like the base to the point. Yeah, so this one, despite what I just said, does work out to a whole number. Right, like I said, that doesn't happen like crazy often, but it does happen. All right, y'all go ahead and do the third one there. All right, let's start with the formula. Who can give me the formula? Eric? Say it again. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you said height the first time. So we got pi times radius times height divided by 3. All right, who can give me the values plugged in? Aubrey? All right, I kind of ran out of room there. But we got 3.14 times 2.5 times 2.5 times 8 divided by 3. And then Samantha, what you get? 52.3. Yeah, we get 52.3 repeating, right? Not so bad, right? Any questions on those? So like I said, that's basically looking at like the same thing we did yesterday. We just got the divided by 3 part. All right, so flip that sheet over. Go ahead and do that one. Little word problem. Let's just get the answer. Nick, what you got?
133.9.
All right, so this one does specify nearest hundredth, so we'll go 133.97. Okay? Everybody good with that? 3.14 times 8 times 8 times 2 divided by 3. Okay? All right, so we're going to use that, okay? Let's pretend, let's go ahead and round that to a whole number, so we'll call that 134, okay? Because if we look at number 5, it's asking which one could have the same height and radius. Y'all, so what's the difference between the formulas? What's the difference between the formula for a volume of a cylinder and volume of a cone?
When you say cone, the cone will always be one third the volume of the cylinder with the same height.
Yeah, so the cone's always going to be 1/3, right? The difference in the formulas we're using is we divide by 3 for the cone, right? We don't divide by 3 for the cylinder. So our cone, I said we're looking at 134, right? The cylinder then has to be bigger, right? And since we divide by 3 to get the cone, to get back to the cylinder, we do opposite. So we're going to go times 3. So when we multiply times 3, that gave me 402. You remember I rounded, right? So we're looking at C. That makes sense? So if they have the same height and radius, the difference between them is dividing by 3. So if you have the cone and you need the cylinder, you go times 3, and it does the opposite. This one is tricky. What's the radius? Y'all don't do anything on calculators yet. What's the radius? 6. All right, everybody good with that part? All right, so now here's the tricky part. What's the 10? Try again. Slant height. Y'all know what a slant height is? Yeah, it's the slant part. So look, let's think of it as a triangle. If I have a right triangle, what part of the right triangle is my slant? The hypotenuse, right? So we're looking at a hypotenuse of 10, which is what we would have here, and I got a leg there of 6. So do I use that 10 to find the volume of the cone? No. I need the actual height, right? So if they give you the slant height, you got an extra step, don't we? We got to find that missing leg. So find that missing leg. Eight is correct. If we have the hypotenuse, remember, we got to subtract to get the other leg. All right, so now I got a height of 8. I got a radius of 6. The 10 doesn't matter. Find the volume. Carla?
Wait, hold on, wait, no, let's
Yeah, we get 301. Whoops, I didn't put the 1, did I? 301.44. Okay? 3.14 times 6 times 6 times 8 divided by 3. So it had a little extra to it, didn't it? I've seen a problem with a pyramid like this before. Not a cone. We'll do pyramids probably tomorrow, but everybody good on that? A little tricky, right? You gotta read carefully, don't you? Usually you won't see many like that, but occasionally they can sneak one in there just to make it a little extra or a little harder. All right, so Isabella has a cylinder. Jason has a cone. What do we do to go from a cylinder to a cone? Divide by 3. So we take Isabella's cylinder volume, because it gave us the volume already. So the volume is 63, and we divide by 3. So Jason has a cone with a volume of 21. Everybody good with that? All right, so we got here, it says a cone has a volume of 300. A cylinder has a volume of 100. Could they have the same heights and same radius? Anybody think they got an answer?
I feel like no.
I heard a yes, I've heard a no.
No.
So that's going to be a no.
I knew it. It's obvious.
All right, so what's 300 divided by 3? 300 divided by 3 is 100, right?
Yeah.
But the cylinder is what gets divided. The cylinder was the 100. So to get a cone, if a cone and a cylinder would have to have the same, we'd have to have 100 divided by 3, which is 33.3 repeating, or it would have been 300 times 3 if the cone had to be 300. Okay? Everybody follow with what I'm saying? So that's a no, that one wouldn't be or couldn't work because of that. All right, so you remember yesterday I showed you one, maybe two, where we had to find the radius, right? Going backwards. So same idea here. Our volume equals pi times radius times height divided by 3. So if I go, we'll put 9 in for the height. I forgot to do that when I was writing it. We're going to do the opposite, okay? So when we're trying to solve for one of the variables, we start off by doing opposite. So we got 942. Opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So we go times 3. That gives you 2,826, right? All right, we're going to keep going. I have a times 9, right? What's the opposite of times 9? Divided by 9. So we divide that by 9. I got 314. I got a times pi, right? So we divide by pi. So 314 divided by 3.14. What that leaves me with is 100, and I've got the two radiuses, right? Being multiplied together. Remember, the radius can't be different numbers for the same shape. So it's got to be the same number. What number times itself makes 100? 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So our radius is going to be 10. Any questions on that? A little tricky when you find radius. Cones are definitely harder than cylinders just because of that extra divided by 3. All right, so this is asking if Diego did this correctly. All right, so you see Diego here, he multiplies by 1/3. That's the same as dividing by 1/3, or dividing by 3, so that's okay. I think he used actual pi instead of 3.14. He said the radius is 6 and the height is 42. Is he correct? Where did he make a mistake? His radius. What's his radius supposed to be, Hunter? 9. So Diego's mistake is right there. He's got 6 squared. He's got 6 for the radius. We have a diameter of 18. So if we have a diameter of 18, like Hunter said, that makes our radius 9. Half of it, right? Any questions on that one?